is SportsCenter.
Alrighty, welcome gents to the Degenerates Fantasy League recap from Week 4 coming from League Commissioner McCalib. We're going to start off with Week 1. We got the Cowpokes versus the tight ends. The King Joe Burrow posts a decent 25 number, throwing for 348 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, Deebo Samuel of the fucking 49ers went 156 with 2 touchdowns and only 12 targets. The loser for this week is going to be the tight ends, and they started Pat Mahomes, who threw for 278 yards but 5 touchdowns and posted 41 fantasy fucking points, which might be the league high for the week or the season. But that just wasn't quite enough, as the rest of the tight ends offense underperformed. Denver's Javonte Williams rushed for 48 yards and no points. Was scored in 5 points, 0 points out of Tyson Williams out of Baltimore. That also fucking sucks. The Cowpokes are going to go up 114 to 93, I believe. That makes the Cowpokes now 3-1, and the tight ends now 1-3. You like to see that for the commissioner. Next matchup, we got Big Red versus Team 14. Team 14's Terry McLaughlin of the Washington football team. I prefer the Redskins, what the fuck ever. Scored 24 fantasy points with only 6 receptions and on 12 targets at 123 yards and 2 touchdowns against the piss-poor fucking Atlanta Falcons, who are 1-3. The big sting for Big Red this week was his underperforming wide receiver core. They combined for only 4 points between Tyler Lockett and Marvin Jones, while he benched Vaughn Jefferson, who caught 6 balls on 6 targets for 90 yards and 1 touchdown for the LA Rams against Arizona Sunday. Big Red is going to go down to the previously 0-3 Team 14. He's going to go down 73 to 92. That makes Big Red 2-2. Next matchup, we got Isaiah and the Salad Asses versus Jordan and the Cool Arrows. That was going to be quite the fucking blowout. Isaiah gets 21 points off of CJ Uzomah, who went off for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns Thursday night in the win over Jacksonville, led by the King Joe Burrow. Ravens defense posted a 15 number with only 254 yards and only 7 points allowed, and an interception by cornerback Anthony Averett. The Cool Arrows lost this game with 3 0-score starters from Devontae Booker of the New York Giants, DJ Chark of Jacksonville, and Eric Ebron from Pittsburgh. That fucking stings. The Cool Arrows will go down 61 to 92 versus the Salad Asses. That's pretty good win for Isaiah. They go up 3-1, and the Cool Arrows are now 1-3. We're not surprised. Next matchup, we got Ryder and the Washington Foreskins versus Drew and the Wicked Wieners. Drew would have 25 points off of Russell Wilson with 149 yards and 2 touchdowns, along with Saquon's 52 rushing yards, 74 receiving yards, and a TD in both categories, including the 6-yard game-winning rushing touchdown in overtime by Saquon. That would be big time for the Wicked Wieners. The Foreskin had 6 of its 8 players only score single digits, and completely whiffed on starting Mac Jones, who threw for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns in a loss to a historic loss in Foxborough versus Tom Brady's return. The Washington Foreskins are going to move to 1-3, and Drew's going to go to 2-2. We really kind of saw that kind of deal coming. We're going on to the next one. Next matchup, we got Eli and Willy Wonka and the Sex Factory versus Martin and the Glizzy Goblin. Tyreek Hill's 11 receptions on 12 targets and 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. Posted a huge 36-piece in Kansas City's win over Philadelphia. That was not enough for Glizzy Goblins, who had a week out of his poor week out of the running back core. Derrick Henry with 23 points. Not really piss poor. That's actually fucking great. Against the sorry-ass New York Giants, and a monstrous week out of Cordero Patterson, who caught 3 TD passes on just 6 targets, 5 fucking receptions, and they stomped the shit out of ATL, the fucking Falcons, and really Martin and the Glizzy Goblins ran away with this one, 108-ish to 87 with Willy Wonka and the Sex Factory. Martin's gonna run off with that one. Next matchup, we got Little James going up against Lance and Mr. Bitches. Hanging with Aaron. I forgot to mention Hanging with Aaron team name last week. I'm sorry, James. Lamar Jackson's 20. Tight end Dalton Schultz of the Dallas Cowboys posted 11, and the Dallas defense were not enough to top Mr. Bitches, with James mismanaging the start of A.J. Green and the Tennessee kicker Randy Bullock. Aaron Rodgers put up a solid 27-piece for 248 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Mr. Bitches also had the Bills D, who held Houston to a fucking goose egg with only 109 yards, no points allowed, 4 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Wow, that was going to be a big winner for Mr. Bitches. He comes out 96-70 versus Little James. Little James is going to go to 2-2, and that brings Mr. Bitches up also to 2-2. The next matchup we got this week is Randy Reed and Randy versus Mateo and House with a Cock in its balls. Randy had a devastating underperformance, or had a bunch of devastating underperformance really, out of Nyheim Hines, who scored -2 with a fumble for loss and only 6 fucking yards as one of your starting running backs. Come on, Randy. 2 points out of Houston's Mark Ingram, also pitiful. While missing on the start of Devin Singletary out of Buffalo. That fucking sucks, because he had 7 points, I believe. House with the Cock in its balls had kind of a terrible week themselves, scoring only 60. The bench had nothing going for them either. Tom Brady went back to New England for the first time since his depart, broke Drew Brees' all-time passing yards record in the win over the Patriots. Really, that was the biggest thing out of this matchup. Indianapolis is going to drop to 1-3. Matt's going to go to 2-2 with a 60-52 win for House with the Cock in its balls. Next, we got Gavin and John Johnson versus Harold's Moose Knuckle Mountaineers. Now, we really got to give it to Gavin this week. He fell in quite the disappointing loss, posting like 111 and lost to Stroker Ace last week. But John Johnson's Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles threw for 387 fucking yards with 2 touchdowns and 47 rushing yards in Philly's 42-30 loss to KC. But that would land Gavin 31 points. Zeke Elliott would also post a 20, and Arizona's James Conner would boast an 18-piece. Wow. So that's quite a high scoring affair already for Gavin. The Moose Knuckle Mountaineers would only reap the benefits of Dak Prescott, who scored 34 and missed out on the start of Philadelphia's running back Kenneth Gainwell, who rushed for 31 yards and a touchdown on 3 attempts and 58 receiving yards on 6 receptions out of the backfield. You hate to see that for the Moose Knuckle Mountaineers, but they're going to fall from undefeated. They're going to go to 3-1, and John Johnson's go to 2-2 in the 95-71 victory. Next matchup we got is Colson Coheely's Spider 2-Wide Banana versus Boone Dugan's Suck Less. And honestly, Boone Dugan's been a powerhouse throughout the season this far. Kind of less than impressive matchup. Spider's DJ Moore out of Carolina dropped 23 points on 113 yards, 8 receptions, and 2 receiving touchdowns. That would be the only good thing to come out of the Spiders. Suck Less pulls another one out of their ass despite having no hair. Where Dawson Knox of the Bills would go only for 37 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns against Houston. Justin Hubert also had a decent night over Las Vegas, which would determine the game for Ball Boone. Ball Boone would come out with suck less, 72-67 over the Spiders. That moves Boone down to 4-0, and Colson down to 1-3. Huge matchup going into Monday night. We had What the Fuck Were You Thinking? Brought to you by Ian Schlag versus Stroker Ace and the Camel Toes, who are up to this point 3-0. Going into Monday night, anyway, they had dominating wins in all 3 weeks before this. The Stroker Ace and the Camel Toes did, but Ian's shining stars would be Jacksonville's James Robinson, who had 78 receiving yards on 18 attempts and 2 touchdowns, along with Buffalo's kicker Tyler Bass, who posted 16, going 4 for 4 against Houston and had a 33-yard long. Cody's previous dominant Camel Toes pretty much underperformed, with 6 of their starters posting single digits, whiffing on starts by Washington's Taylor Heineke, who threw for 290 and 3 TDs. Posted a 33 number. And Baltimore's Marquise Brown, who would haul in 4 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. That would be the deciding factor in that game. And what the fuck are you thinking? Coming up with the biggest upset of the fucking season. 0-3, what the fuck are you thinking? Beats 3-0 Stroke Ace and the Camel Toes. That's all I've got for this week. Hope y'all tune in next week for the next recap. And till then,